Hey everyone, Fury here. In this episode it's a battle of the Ligers as we compare the fairly new AZ01 blade Liger from Tomy against Kotobukiya's high-end master model blade Liger that is, prepare to feel your age, almost 20 years old at this point. Now I'll be upfront and say this isn't really a battle or even a comparison. These two kits aren't really direct competitors. At the end of the day, the AZ line is motorization first, everything else second, and the HMM line is about anime accurate high detail. But the AZ line, which was kicked off by Takara Tomy in 2023 to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Zoids, does position itself, in their own words, as high-end master models. So they are drawing on the recognition that 2 decades of Kotobukiya's highly detailed HMM kits have. They are also 1/72nd scale kits like the HMM line, so physically they'll be about the same size, which hasn't been a thing for quite a while when it comes to Zoids kits. So taking a look at the kits themselves, starting with the HMM, as expected there's loads of parts here, all rich with detail. This kit specifically is the AB version in Vans colours, a variant released in 2020, but as far as I know this is the same tooling as the original AB Liger in Leon's colours, which itself is the same base blade Liger as the original release, the third HMM ever released way back in 2007. So this means we get some extra parts for the attack booster and some clear options for the transparent parts that won't get used. Over to the AZ version, there's also a good amount of detail here too, so they weren't just invoking the link to HMM for marketing, but there's definitely a drop in part count as you would expect. When you want the legs to be motorised and capable of locomotion, you can't really build them from 100 pieces like the HMM one. Before we move on, I just wanted to show the AZ's manual, which is a nice thick matte stock with a couple of glossy pages for the promo shot. It's a small thing, but it brings a little premium feel to the whole affair. Let's start building these two, beginning with the legs. I've laid out the parts for a leg from each of the kits here. At this zoomed out view it almost looks even, but I've already built the foot of the HMM kit, which adds a whole other runner of extra parts as well as many tiny polycaps. My plan for this build is to see what we can get out of these kits with minimal effort. No modification, no custom paint jobs, in fact no base layer paint at all. Just going to try and bring out all of this detail directly on the bare plastic, top it off with some weathering and seal it in with a clear coat where possible. To do that all we need is 4 colours. This Molito Chrome, some Vallejo Gold, along with the light and dark grey, also from Vallejo in this case. Using these 4 colours I will just work my way through each piece and pick out the details. Some of the things are obvious, like pistons are chrome with gold housings. Beyond that it's rule of cool all the way. I think the feet will look cool with dark grey claws, so that's what I went with. Of course the Tomy kit gets the same treatment. There's a lot more gold to paint in here. The parts are filled with pistons, but they are all moulded as one lump of plastic. I'd love to see someone more talented than I carve out these pieces and make all of that detail more separate. But here, a good layer of paint and weathering will go a long way. Now we come to the biggest difference between the two kits, the main body, and in the case of the Tomy kit, the motor unit. It's a monolithic piece that comes ready to go out of the box. Chuck in a couple of batteries and it's walking. It does have some detail moulded in though, and with the same colours as the legs we can bring those out nicely. And whilst the core of the body is monolithic, there are quite a few large bits that get attached to it to fill out the frame, which come in this nice dark blue colour that is not present in the HMM kit at all. These parts are also packed with detail that I'll give the same detail in TLC. The HMM on the other hand of course has you build the body from scratch in 3 sections, from what felt like 100 parts. But that means it looks great with so many layers and details. Whilst we are detailing the body here, I'll point out an option for those whom the rule of cool is still too much choice. For each of the colours in your palette, pick a detail type and assign it a colour. Anything round, chrome. Anything rectangular, grey. Anything that's not meant to be painted, ceramic scraper. Piping, also grey. Takes a lot of the decision overload out of the equation, as you're only picking a few rules instead of what to do with each individual detail. To finish off these parts, and something I'd recommend for any frame aspect of a kit, a silver dry brush. Now the proper way to do this is to get some paint on the brush and then dab the brush on some paper towel to get most of the paint off, before then brushing over the kit to catch the edges, which as you can see I'm not doing. I had just got these large makeup brushes and was still trying to figure out how to use them for dry brushing. And in the moment I was really liking the more scratchy and bold application of going straight from the palette. In the end I think the final result here is that there's too much of this effect, especially when you take a step back and look at the completed kit as a whole. Good time to remember that less is more. Moving up front to the iconic head of these Ligers, we have one of my favourite little details to add, and that's simply painting in the gums, so to speak, or really hiding them and giving the teeth some proper separation. For such a small change, the enhancement is huge in my opinion. The Tomy kit actually has this out of the box, as the teeth have to come up through this piece. I just painted it darker to further remove it from your eye. The Tomy head has a lot of detail, though almost all of it gets covered by solid armour pieces, but I did add some detail around the canopy area. The HMM though has a nicely detailed cockpit with it straight out of the anime style console. I painted the chair in green and then went to town on the console with a bunch of random colours. Whilst we are in the cockpit, let's take a look at the pilots. The HMM kit, whilst being in Vans colours, is technically just a generic AB Liger, and as such the kit only comes with these generic pilots, which I gave the classic orange jumpsuit with white helmet look, with some black details. The Tomy kit on the other hand does come with a little Van and Fiona. They are a bit blobby so lose a bit of detail definition, but I did my best to paint in their basic colours. I didn't film a more zoomed out look at these until the final photo booth session, but as you'll see then, from normal viewing distances these form great silhouettes, especially through the canopy glass. I probably should have researched the outfits before painting, but I just went with what I could recall from the Guardian Force era of the anime. Got pretty close for not having watched it in over a decade at this point. Both sets of pilots were given a sepia wash to bring out what detail there was. On to the last couple of things before we can build the skeletons of these Ligers, starting with the tails, which are rather different between the two. The HMM has a thin cylindrical tail where each section can be rotated and the overall thing is much more posable. Whereas the Tomy kit has this rather stocky looking but static tail that looks both mechanical and organic at the same time. The HMM is actually anime correct. As you can see here from the opening of Chaotic Century, the Liger's tail is drawn like a floppy cat's tail. Finally, the glue that holds every Zoid together, the iconic joint cap things. Despite being a core design and engineering element from the time of the very first Zoids toys, they are mentioned approximately once in the animes, where they are named as GYRO caps. I gave each and every GYRO cap a dark panel wash just to emphasize the detail. The GYRO caps in the Tomy kit are actually pegs and come in 3 different sizes. big bulky ones for the main leg attachments and 2 smaller sized for the other joints. The kit even comes with a socket-like tool to help screw the peg cap hybrids into place. With all that work done, we can finally build some Liger skeletons. As a byproduct of the injection moulding process where reuse is king, the Tomy Liger skeleton, or at least a lot of it, will be used for the Liger Zero and all the other Liger variants to come. Likewise, the HMM Liger skeleton is largely the same as various other Liger variants like the Shield Liger, which means with the same single exception on both kits you can build the entire skeleton without any armour. That exception being the blades. In both cases, the blade assembly cannot be completed without some blue armour piece in play. Speaking of the blades, they were detailed similar to other parts with some chrome added here and some grey there. They were also panel lined using Mr. Colour Weathering Brown to bring out the details on the blades themselves. So let's take a detour to the photo booth and take a look at these Liger skeletons. It's interesting to see how they are stacking up. The Tomy Liger is bulkier and more organic looking, whilst the HMM is sleeker but more mechanical, and the head also relies heavily on the armour to add definition, whereas the Tomy head is already identifiable as a Liger. We can also get our first look at the mechanical aspect at this point too, as it's ready to walk. As someone who built many of the mechanical Zoids back in the late 90s and early 2000s, it's really cool to see that tech continue today and where it's improved, like hooking up the walk cycle to the head and various body bits that all move alongside the legs. It's just plain cool. Back to these builds, let's get these skeletons some armour, iconic blue Liger armour. The HMM kit has great armour out of the box and uses various parts and allowing frame to show through to build up the detail, so we won't see that until it's weathering time. The Tomy kit on the other hand leaves a lot to be desired. Most of the armour is big, bulky, single colour pieces with plenty of the white and other details requiring paint to bring out. Once the Tomy armour was brought up to spec, it was all given a full gamut of weathering, starting with chipping, mostly applied with a sponge and mostly for the sake of time and sanity, done effect by effect, applying the same effect to all the pieces before moving on to the next one. Starting with a light blue chipping layer, then a silver chipping pass, followed by light and dark rust used sparingly throughout. Going pass by pass like this isn't recommended, as you'll always end up with the same ordering of effects, which isn't realistic, but it does speed the process up greatly and sometimes that's the better option. The one downside to sponge chipping is that it's not very good at getting into tight spaces, so I did go back through with a brush and add some chipping of each type wherever needed, like this 90-degree joint and deep in these white fins. I also thinned this paint a bit and used it as a lining fluid whilst I had the brush out. With the chipping down, I broke out the washers, filters and other effects and started the fun part, weathering. Starting with this oil brusher sandy colour all over the feet. There's a lot of desert in the Zoids anime, so it seemed fitting. Various washers and filters were applied all over. You can use things like vents and such as a guide, but again, rule of cool is the go here. Most of these are enamel based, so were feathered with terps. Used some dirty down rust sparingly as well, using water to feather it to various degrees. And finally some rain mark streak effects to help both break up larger applications and also blend everything together. All that's left now is to put them together. The HMM is a more traditional model, snapping together with relative ease, the only pain point being the way the legs mount to the main body, which is rather flimsy. I ended up gluing mine after they fell off for about the 100th time. The Tomy kit on the other hand is a fun, unique build thanks to those peg style gyro caps. Once you've snapped the armour on, you use the little tool to put the pegs in and lock the pieces in place, allowing the mechanised motion to happen. And with that, it's into the photo booth. As mentioned at the start, this isn't really a battle or a comparison. They both look cool. Which one you should get depends on which you find more fun. The HMM is superposable. The fun is in doing this, and this, and this. Whereas the Tomy kit is all about the mechanical motion. The fun is turning it on and watching it go for hours on end. You could always get both like I did. Overall, I'm happy with how these turned out. As I mentioned before, I think I went a bit heavy on the silver dry brushing this time around, which some external feedback I received agreed with. But I did take the HMM to QHME and managed to walk away with bronze in one of the mecha categories. Gotta be happy with that. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.